Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening. Welcome. My name is Sanjay Ramraka. I'm the captain of the Administrative Bureau for the Vallejo Police Department. This is our annual reporting out to the community regarding our military equipment policy and usage for the last year. Originally, this policy was mandated by Assembly Bill 481, which was passed by Governor Newsom in 2021. And it was a way to categorize and report out to the communities and the public about military style equipment, and I quote unquote, and required agencies, law enforcement agencies, to create a policy, report out, and have equipment approved by their local governing body. Here in the city, it's the city council. It also required agencies to submit an annual report and hold a public forum, which this is. The bill's definition, now ensconced in Government Code 7070 and 7071, which provides definitions, is broad. Needless to say, it's 13 categories. It ranges from armored vehicles to large caliber firearms and equipment obtained through the 1033 program. We have several subject matter experts here that can speak specifically to the categories of military equipment. But just really quickly, I'll go through those categories. And they include unmanned, remotely piloted aerial vehicles or ground. And in common parlance, those are drones. Mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles or tracked vehicles. Humvees, 2.5-ton trucks, 5-ton trucks. Neither of those categories do we have vehicles like that. Command and control vehicles that are purposely built or modified to facilitate operational control. We do have those. Weaponized aircraft, vessels, or vehicles of any kind. We do not have those. Battering rams, slugs, breaching apparatuses, anything that explodes of explosive nature. We do not have anything like that. Firearms of 50 caliber or greater, ammunition of 50 caliber or greater. We do not have anything like that. Specialized firearms and ammunition, including assault weapons. Our subject matter expert in this area is Lieutenant Shane Bauer. He is our SWAT team commander, and he will speak more readily and definitively and precisely about these areas. Any firearm or firearm accessory designed to launch explosive projectiles. We do have some equipment like that. Flashbang grenades, taser, shockwave, microwave weapons. We do not have anything like that. Projectile platforms, which include 40mm launchers, bean bags, rubber bullets. We have some areas of munitions such as that. And then finally, the broadest category is any other equipment that is deemed by the governing body or the city council, which they would want particular oversight. So this policy is listed online on the PD's website. It is policy number 706. Attached to the policy are all these areas, these 13 different categories. We have them listed under our drone program. We have them listed by vehicles, by armament, and then finally we have we have them listed, we have them attached to the policy. And that particular attachment is rather long, so that is not included in this presentation, but it is readily available on our website. So my subject matter experts here today are, again, Lieutenant Shane Bauer. I'll let him introduce himself, but he is our SWAT team commander, and currently the division commander of our professional standards division. I have Lieutenant Jeremy Huff. He is our commander of our mobile field force. He can explain what that is. And then also Lieutenant Jeff Ty, who is our commander in our compliance, integrity, and accountability division, and also mans our drone program, which we call our tech team. So it looks like unmanned aircraft systems are first. So I'll let Lieutenant Ty come up here and speak to that. We also record deployments throughout the year, so he'll speak to number of deployments and reasons thereof.
Good evening. So as the captain said, my name is Lieutenant Jeff Ty. I'm currently in charge of the compliance division at the department, as well as the commander of our tech team. Our tech team includes the drones specifically, and then robots, any kind of robots that we have or use. So on the list that we have up here are the current drones that we do have in our ability to use. A lot of them, or not a lot of them, but the first two, the Parrot and the Phantom, are currently not being used, as well as the Matrice 210, just because of the age and the usage. I use drones and I talk to them like cell phones essentially. They have a shelf life 2, 3 years, 4 years. So at that point, you need to start refurbishing them or getting them more updated to be able to fly for safety. So we're not currently using them, but we do have them. The other ones we do still have. Right now, we have there's 7 pilots for the department, and all of them, we make them go through and obtain their FAA Part 107 certificate. So they're certified by the FAA to fly and operate the drones throughout the city, and if needed. So we do follow all of those rules as well with it. Um, the drones are usually deployed on a supervisor's request. They're always related to some kind of a call for service. Those call for services can range from anything from helping assist looking for a missing person to crime scene photographs to crimes that are in progress. So anytime there is a deployment, it's logged and categorized, and that's something that is given to me on a monthly basis. So I'm able to look at that and review those, as well as it's documented in our report writing system. With all of those, we also do report out to the surveillance advisory board on at minimally a bi-month, sorry, every 2 months, if not earlier, and we'll present that and provide that to the city as well as online for anybody to review any of the deployments. The deployment logs that we do use are created by myself. They have everything from the dates, the case numbers, a brief description of or the call for service of when it was, what it was deployed for, as well as the airspace and then the time it was deployed. So all of those are readily available to anybody who would like to review those as well. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna screw this up. How do I switch over to the next one? Up there, just like that. Perfect. So the other thing that is part of the tech team is any kind of a robot and so forth with that. This is the PackBot that we do have. Unfortunately, it's extremely old as well, and we do not use it, but we do have it um, within the department. So we want to make sure that we are transparent about that and list everything that we do have. So I think that's the last thing I have in regards to the tech stuff. The next slide goes to Lieutenant Shane Bauer. So I'll have him come up here, but then I'll still be around to answer any questions at the end.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lieutenant Shane Bauer. If I start talking too fast, just let me know. I'm currently the commander of the SWAT team as an ancillary duty for the Vallejo Police Department. My primary job is Professional Standards Division Commander, which oversees all training, hiring, internal affairs, personnel matters. The purpose of AB 481 was to disclose all military equipment, as Captain Ramrocka hit on earlier. But once again, I want to touch on that it doesn't mean that the equipment that we have or we use is actually military equipment, because that is somewhat of a misnomer. We actually only have 2 pieces of equipment in our inventory that is from the military, and I'll speak about that shortly here. The rest of it was deemed military equipment and required by law for us to report it as such. The other thing I wanted to hit on real quick here too is that with Lieutenant Ty's team and Lieutenant Huff's team, we all work together. So there's going to be bleed over on some of this equipment. For example, the tech team, the drones, as a SWAT team, we request their assistance on every deployment. So they may deploy on a call for service, but for every SWAT call that we have or SWAT operation, we'll request the tech team to come out with their drones. The robot issue, which he brought up, it currently does not work. I cannot stress the importance of having a robot in our system because it's a non-human that can engage a human, therefore not resulting in any type of fatality, because we do not weaponize the robot system, but they are used to do surveillance inside of a home or a dwelling or even a car, depending on what it may be. And it can also open doors. There's a lot of other tasks that these robots can do. It can breach a door, so that we don't have to actually send officers in, that which could lead to a lethal engagement for either us or the suspect, or possibly even hostages in those type of scenarios. But that's pretty much our involvement with the tech team from that standpoint. I'll move on to our vehicles that we have with the SWAT team. We currently have the Lenco Medcat, which is an armored vehicle. This is not a military vehicle. It was not designed for military use. It was designed solely for rescue and police operations. It's an armored vehicle that we can carry up to 10 or more people in it to safely deploy to whatever our target location is. This vehicle is not exclusively used for SWAT operations. So if something's unfolding in town and it's not rising to the level of a SWAT operation, our patrol officers at the direction of the watch commander can also deploy this vehicle. And probably the best attribute of this vehicle is if there is somebody injured, wounded, we can, for the most part, provide safe cover to evacuate them from that. So if there is an armed subject in a building or a vehicle or some other type of structure, and there's somebody wounded and we don't have a way to get to them, this can run basically a shield, an armored shield, for us to send a team up there to get them. And you may notice on our vehicle, we also have the fire department emblem on there, because with the SWAT team, we have what's called tactical emergency medicine. So they also deploy with us, and that's highly trained firefighters that deploy with the SWAT team. So we have a medical services immediately available to us, both for us and for any suspects, victims, or anybody else that may be injured in any of our operations. The next one, which we do not have a picture of, is the Cadillac Gauge Ranger Peacekeeper. We have two of these. These are the two items that we have that were actually designed and deployed by the military. But to clarify, they were not designed and deployed by the military to go into combat zones. They were designed and used primarily by the Air Force to act as an armored vehicle on base for Air Force police services. So other countries have used them in combat. I'm certain the U.S. may have, but primarily it was designed for the Air Force police departments, for lack of better terms, for police or military police operations on military facilities. The two that we have are extremely unreliable. We have not deployed them in over a year because what has happened in the past, we put our gear in it, we have a planned operation, we go to deploy it, and we get a block away from the police department and it breaks down. So as you can imagine, that creates a logistical nightmare for us, especially when time is of the essence and we need to deploy somewhere. So for the most part, they remain parked in the back of the police department, and there is a possibility that we can maybe give those back to the state of California under the military equipment program and hopefully acquire another Medcat, because that is a more reliable vehicle that's a non-military piece of equipment that we actually use on every deployment and benefits our patrol division as well. Okay. So as I stated earlier, not all of these vehicles or items are actual military equipment, and this is probably the area that makes it most abundantly clear. Our command vehicles are civilian-made vehicles primarily used for civilian functions, but we have converted them for our police use. So we have three of those: a Freightliner MT-45. We use this as one of our command vans. So these are not armored vehicles. They're not deployed onto the front lines of any police operation. What you'll typically see is they'll be parked several blocks away, used as a command center. So we have communications in there, we have equipment in there. Any other supplies that we may need will come back to that van or send runners from that van up to the officers that are on the front lines. Freightliner MT-55, essentially the same thing. So we interchange, we use these for different operations at different times. The Four Winds 32R motorhome is exactly that. It's a motorhome that was originally used for recreational use. We acquired it from an RV dealership many years ago, and we converted it into a command van, and that's for our hostage negotiation team. So in that, there's a negotiation center where our hostage negotiators, when we deploy them, and to be clear, every single SWAT operation that we run, whether it's a call that develops into a SWAT operation or it's a pre-planned operation, we always include our hostage negotiators into that, whether we're able to use them or not. They are minimally on scene to be used if it gets to that point. This is the vehicle that they operate out of. And in that is primarily their equipment, different phones and communication items, but once again, not deployed to the front lines. It's in the command center area, which may be several blocks away from any actual operation. Moving on to weapons. So in the Vallejo Police Department, we have primarily 3 rifles that we use. We have the patrol rifle, which is the Colt Enhanced Patrol Rifle. This is a semi-automatic rifle that's chambered in 5.56 NATO. This is very similar to what the military uses. However, this is not a fully automatic weapon. It's a semi-automatic only. In the Vallejo Police Department, not everybody is issued one of these. Not everybody has access to these. You have to complete a 3-day course. You have to successfully complete the 3-day course. Then you have to maintain your annual qualifications with it, and you have to attend our trainings at the range to maintain possession of these rifles. So we do have officers that are qualified to carry these once they've reached that status of completing the training, and they are required to maintain them and also, as I stated earlier, maintain certification. So if you see patrol officers in the field with these rifles, that's what they're used for. And these, for us, and I'm sure most of you are aware of the North Hollywood shootout in LA, that's really was the catalyst to having patrol rifles issued to rank and file police officers, because that in case officers equipped with shotguns and pistols were facing people who were 2 suspects who were heavily armored and carrying fully automatic weapons, high caliber, high powered, fully automatic weapons. So this kind of levels the playing field for us. And as we'll see later in the presentation, some of the weapons that we pulled off of suspects here in Vallejo, and based on what a typical patrol officer has, they're outgunning us in the weapons that they're carrying and that we're able to get from them. The next firearms listed here are the Colt M4 Commandos. So these, we have about 11 of them. These are capable of shooting fully auto. Currently, we only have 4 issued out to the rank and file, and the people that are issued out to are actual SWAT operators. So there's a higher level of training that they've received. And we have not actually had a fully automatic deployment from any of these rifles in the time that we've had them. So over 20 years, I don't know of an actual moment where we have used them in full auto. But, and some would ask, what's the need for that? In the event of a catastrophic attack event, something along those lines, these would come in handy, the full auto capability to neutralize a threat that might be heavily armored or have a lot of firepower that they're using against either the populace or against the police department. The Daniel Defense, their DD-M4A1, it's also known as the Mark 18. These are the same essentially as a Colt Enhanced Patrol Rifle. It just has a shorter barrel. It's also a semi-automatic only. These are only issued out to our SWAT team for the same purposes. It is the primary weapon of our SWAT operators. Two more firearms that we have in our arsenal or inventory. These are not deployed. They're not in service at this point. They're both locked away in safes. Is a Heckler & Koch MP5K. It's a 9mm submachine gun capable of shooting fully automatic, but it's also semi-automatic as well. So all the 3 variations of fully automatic weapons that we have all have a semi-automatic switch on it. So they're primarily used semi-auto, but capable of shooting full auto. The MP5 we keep in our inventory because it is good for close quarter battle in the event that we have to go into a tight squeeze, tight space, something along those lines where one of the carbines would not fit. This will allow one of our operators to engage a suspect in a situation like that. It is capable of fully automatic fire, as I stated before. And one of the reasons or benefits to that is in the event that they come across somebody and they engage in some type of combat with that person, the full auto burst is more likely to neutralize a suspect quicker than semi-automatic fire, especially when using a sub caliber like 9mm. The next one in our inventory, the Heckler & Koch G3. This is chambered in .308 caliber, 7.62 NATO. That is a larger caliber than what our patrol rifles shoot. This would come in handy. It's the same round that our sniper rifles use as well, which are not deemed military equipment. It has higher penetration capabilities if somebody's wearing heavy armor or something along those lines. But this, once again, this is locked away in a safe in our armory, so it's not deployed currently, and really the only situation where it would be deployed would be in a SWAT operation, maybe a pre-planned event or something that's rapidly unfolding, and one of our operators would have to go get that and then put it in our medical or in our armored vehicle and then deploy it to whatever the location is for whatever reason. This is another area moving into our chem agents. I'll cover as much of this as I can. I think I can probably cover all of it. And I'm sorry that it's a little all over the place with that. But as I stated earlier, all of the tech team, mobile field force, and SWAT team, we all work together on these operations. And a lot of the equipment we use when it comes to less lethal foam batons, gas, flashbangs, they're also deployed by mobile field force and SWAT. The SWAT weapons, to be clear, are not deployed by mobile field force or the tech team. So the SWAT weapons are specific to SWAT. But when it comes to our chemical agents and less lethal, they are deployed by both in different scenarios. Our 40mm launchers made by Defense Technologies, these are commonly referred to as less lethals. In the event that you see them out there, it looks like a grenade launcher. It essentially is a grenade launcher. It's 40mm, which is the same grenade launchers that the military use. These are not the ones the military use. It just comes down to the size of the munitions. So because of the size of the munitions, it's capable of shooting high explosive rounds. We do not have any high explosive rounds. We have no need for high explosive rounds, but because of that, it is classified as a military weapon. Primarily what we use these for is shooting a foam or what is called a less lethal round at a combative subject. And what that does is it creates a shockwave of energy when it impacts them, usually neutralizing them, allowing our officers to engage them and place them in custody. They can also be used to break windows on SWAT callouts, SWAT type of callouts, or as attention getters to get the attention of somebody in a house that might be barricaded. Our officers may breach a window by shooting this. It's safer for us. It's safer for the person in the house that might be holding a hostage or just refusing to come out, because it creates standoff. It creates distance. So rather than sending officers up and having them do that, putting them in harm's way, which could result in harm's way for anybody that's inside, whatever the structure is, this allows us to shoot it from a distance, break the window, make PA announcements into the house, verbal announcements, throw a negotiation phone into the house if it's going to go that route. So that's another use for those. As we go into some of the munitions here, pepper ball launchers, those are more of a mobile field force function. However, SWAT team can use it. And it essentially, the best way I can describe it to you, it's a paintball gun. It shoots a ball that is the same diameter as most paintballs, but in that it has pepper spray or a powder that is what we use on our pepper spray dispensers, which creates an irritant for whatever the combative person is, or whoever that combative person may be. It's an irritant and typically will garner compliance from somebody that's been struck by one, or, and Lieutenant Huff clarify, you may not shoot in the chest area with those or near them to disperse the OC powder. Okay. Or skip them off the ground. So it's not necessarily a direct fire where you would hit the person. You can, which will create also some pain, but you can shoot it at a wall or the ground and it'll disperse the powder, which will create the irritant. So our flashbangs are a handheld grenade type of device. It creates a bright light and a loud sound. They are not to be deployed directly at a person. They can cause injury. They're not designed to cause any type of fatality. We are trained to use these, so rank and file officers cannot deploy these unless they've received training, SWAT school, mobile field force training, and they have to be certified to do this. This is an ATF controlled device, so they're serialized. When we will keep inventory of them. When we deploy them, whether it's in training or whether it's on an actual operation, we keep a roster of that. We report that back to ATF because it is an explosive device. To be clear, though, it will only cause minimal damage if it is actually deployed at something. So on the floor, it may cause a burn mark. It may cause a crack in tile. If it's against a wall, it'll probably cause a burn mark. If it's against a piece of furniture or something along those lines, it's like similar to lighting off a firework with actually less chance of fire occurring from it, because the way it's designed is to have minimal flame deploy from these devices. They're very loud. There's different ones that are different levels of sound, decibels. And typically what will happen, or why we use these, is when we're doing a planned SWAT operation or an unplanned SWAT operation, we surround whatever the target location is, we make PA announcements, and then what we use these as an attention getter. So we will deploy a couple in the front yard or backyard or wherever we can safely deploy it. And that's to get the attention of the occupants, make more announcements, possibly engage in negotiations. And then in the event that we are going to enter a building, we will use a couple of these. We will open the door, toss one in a short distance from the door. Once it detonates, then our officers will gain entry of whatever the structure is. And the purpose of that, once again, is it will stun, visually and audibly impair anybody that's in the structure, giving our officers time to come in, engage them, rescue hostages, because we don't typically enter on a SWAT operation unless it's for an actual hostage rescue or it's to clear the building after we believe all occupants have left. So moving into some of the gas deploying grenades, the defense technology, triple chaser, canister, and the, I think we have more on the next page. The triple chaser is a gas grenade, but it disperses 3 different smaller grenades, for lack of better terms. So it's a wider range of dispersal. This is designed to be used primarily outdoors. So it'd be a rare occasion where this would be deployed into a building. A large room like this, it might be a possibility because it would get rapid dispersal over a greater area for any type of operation. Smoke is primarily used to create concealment if we're moving, and maybe a little bit of distraction. It can be combined with some of the gases to disperse the gas to create more of an irritant for any suspects that we may be deploying them against. The Stinger 60 cal. So this is similar to a flashbang, but it deploys 60 caliber rubber pellets that do cause pain. It's an irritant. We have had several successful deployments on these with barricaded subjects over the last couple of years, and resulting in them surrendering. They can be used for crowd control as well. If you have a large unruly crowd and after the proper dispersal orders have been given, these can be deployed to disperse the crowd. They're not intended to cause any permanent injury. They're not intended to cause any type of fatality, anything along those lines, but they are intended to cause enough pain to cause a crowd to disperse or a suspect to surrender. The next 3 on here are all gas smoke grenades, aerosol, oleo, or OC, or pepper spray. And these can be used in a variety of incidents, but primarily most of our deployments have been on planned SWAT operations or unplanned SWAT operations. And to explain to all of you the way that works, I touched on earlier. We deploy to the location, we create a perimeter around the location, we do loudspeaker announcements to gain compliance, hopefully surrender, release the hostages if that's the case. We do the attention getters or the flashbangs. And then the next stage or the next evolution that we move into at that point in time is to deploy gas into the residence. And that's typically what it is. We have specially trained SWAT operators that have to go to training on how to deploy gas properly. And not only that, but look at a structure, get the square footage of that structure, and come up with what's called a gas plan, because we don't want to create an environment where the oxygen level is so low that it could create a fatality within that building. So there's a gas plan formulated, and it's this amount of gas can go into this structure over this period of time. And we stick to that to reduce any potential fatalities when deploying the gas. The gas itself is not known to cause fatalities. It's not to say that something else couldn't happen that would be a chain reaction that could cause a fatality, a fire. There have been incidents where gas has been deployed, not here, but nationally, where they've hit a candle or something along those lines, causing an ignition. It's not an actual gas. This is not a flammable substance. So it won't ignite, but it can cause other things to ignite, if that makes sense. For riot crowd control, these can also be just deployed near crowds and causing that irritant. The CS gas, which is also known as tear gas, causes an irritant with most people, and it causes them to want to move. It's very difficult to withstand exposure to tear gas. There's a very small population that it has no effect on, and we've encountered that for the first time just this last December. And I've heard about it for nearly 29 years in this profession. I've heard about it even longer in my military career. Well, I finally found the guy, and he withstood a lot of gas, but we were able to get him out of the house without causing any injury. I think this goes back into the generalized information about our equipment. But are we going to have a Q&A on this, Rashad? Okay, so I will wait for that if anybody has any questions about these items. And then Captain Ramrock or Rashad, we're going to cover the weapons seized. Weapons seized at the end of the... Okay, then this concludes my presentation about the weapons that SWAT uses.
All right, thank you, Lieutenant Bauer and Lieutenant Ty. At this time, let me make sure that we've covered everything that we need to on our slides, which we have. Sergeant Hollis will come up here and we're going to show you some pictures that of things we've confiscated over the course of the last year, which necessitate some of the equipment, all the equipment that we have in our inventory. These are things that have been pulled from suspects during operations, during routine vehicle stops and seizures. And so Sergeant Hollis will tell you more about them.
Yeah, so over the time, we have a whole year of items seized through traffic stops, building searches, parole searches, and calls for service. As you can see, these are some high-powered rifles and handguns that are designed to be nothing more than deadly on our streets. As you can see, there's high-capacity magazines, which hold way more rounds than what's intended for the law in California. We have firearms with red dots that allow people to be a lot more accurate when they're shooting these deadly weapons in our streets. Why is the equipment needed for this in the military? The military equipment use is to bring safe and peaceful resolutions to critical incidents with the minimum harm to all involved parties. This also provides comfortable and secure command centers for critical incidents. That's what the RVs are for. And then the safe transports of highly trained personnel and their equipment, because it's very important to make sure that the individuals and the equipment get to the scene with precision and accuracy and back to the stations for accountability. There's the deterrence, compliance, and control through the use of chemical agents, reduce changes, the reduced chance of lethal force encounters, increase opportunities for de-escalation, and the ability to leverage time and distance with technology, skilled personnel, and effective equipment. This goes into our questions, comments, and concerns section. I'm going to go around and provide everyone the opportunity to ask a question or give a comment. Each person will have 3 minutes to ask their questions and provide their comments. Who's first?
Are you guys able to use any of that? Are you able to use any of that? Keep, oh, it's not, it's a question. I'm just saying, are you able to use the confiscated equipment or is this totally illegal? And the other question is on this robot that you say it's kind of outdated. What does one of those robots cost? A newer one today, a high-tech one?
Good question. So
I'll just go to the podium. So this is a high priority item. We desperately need one. We want one. I have my SWAT team leaders have done all the research on it. We've worked with Vacaville PD. They have probably one of the better robots that are out there. It's been tried and proven out in the field by much larger agencies that have full-time SWAT teams, about $70,000. So if we can get that, it would help. I don't know. I'm hoping we can get one because, as I stated, it allows us to put a robot in place of a human to do what a human would be required to do. So the suspect cannot hurt. I mean, they can hurt the robot all they want. That's not a human. And then the robot it's not weaponized, so it's not going to hurt the individual that it's being deployed against.
As to the robot, it is a valuable piece of equipment, and we're aware that we need one. We're looking at sources of grant funding to obtain one. And to your first question, as to equipment that's been confiscated and booked into evidence, no, we do not use any of that. Those are, once confiscated, they belong to the court, and they can only be released for, just in this case, destruction, after judicial proceedings have been determined and the case has been adjudicated. Any other questions?
yes, sir.
The slideshow will be available on the website.
The entire.
Cool, great, awesome. Breakdown of like how much everything costs will be in the report, and that's coming out soon, or?
Ask my question.
Oh, yeah, will a breakdown of how much all these things cost be in the report, and when's the report coming out? And I guess the last small question I have is, I can't remember what, but there was, I think it was a Colt Arms rifle, and it sounded like some officers have this and some don't. So is there a breakdown of how many have it and how many don't have it? I think that's it. Yeah. So just when will the full report be out? How many officers have those rifles? How many don't? And will the report include how much everything costs? Yeah.
I can answer some of that. So in the AB 481 report, that is a public facing document, there is an initial cost and a cost to continuously operate these items. So some of them, like for example, flashbangs, tear gas, things along those lines, that's a one-time use. So that's when you have to replace that by buying more. But the Medcat, the vehicles, if the robot, if we can get it up and running, those are things that are of minimal cost to continue using. And you asked about the rifles. I can't give you the exact number that are actually issued out right now. The number varies as officers choose to turn them in or as we provide the training. So what we're doing right now with my fire, because one of the additional responsibilities I have in the department is range master, which is all things firearms. So we have 100 or so, 80, I don't recall the exact number off the top of my head, of the Colt rifles. Most of those right now are not deployed. We have a lot of new officers that have come into the agency. They need to finish their field training. They need to get additional advanced officer training. And then what we do is we put on a post-certified 3-day course, 16 to 24 hours of intense training with these firearms. And then once they have successfully completed that, they will be issued a patrol rifle. So we're hoping logistically, if we can pull it off, to do maybe 4 of those classes this year, because we have so many officers, newer officers, that a lot of them have just, a lot of the rifles have been kept in the armory. And I think you had maybe one more question. Okay. So it has to go to council to be put on the agenda. However, each year, this is an issue that's revisited. So yes, it is a public facing document that is on the city website, typically, or not just with the city of Vallejo, but all municipal agencies, sheriff's departments, police departments. Typically, if you go onto the website, there will be a section somewhere, a header for, it'll say military equipment or AB 481, whatever terminology they use. You click that and then you'll see a spreadsheet of what the inventory is with the associated costs and everything else. So and July?
Yeah, we have to agendize it, give it to council, we're expected no later than July.
Yeah, and I can tell you that there's very little change to that. Like I said, the one that fluctuates back and forth is more the munitions items, gas, flashbangs, things along those lines. But most of the equipment here, with the exception of the robot and the drones, most of that equipment, you have a long service life on that. So it's not a continuous cost every year. It's just more along the lines of gas and maintenance, things along those lines for the vehicles, and very minimal maintenance for the weaponry. And that, did I cover all your questions? Oh. No.
Anyone else have any questions? Yes, sir.
I'll take care of you. You got me? Okay. Do you want all of them at once or? Okay. These are small questions as well. I'd heard, and I may have been misinformed, that the department had received at some point surplus M4s or M16s. And I'm wondering if that's correct or if they'd been returned is the first question.
I'll answer them as you go, just so I don't have to keep asking you. So yes, in the early 2000s, we did get a number of M16A1s from the 1033 program, and that's the program. There's essentially 2 programs where we can get actual military equipment from either the state or from the federal government. 1033 is military equipment that comes into us. We did receive those rifles. They have all been returned.
Okay. Thank you. And were those 3-round burst full auto?
No, actually what we did with all of them is, well, some remained full auto. Those were not issued out, but what we did, and forgive me if some of you know this already, but for those of you who don't, there's a switch. So commonly known as a safety, or on a rifle, it's a selector lever, and you go from safe to semi-auto to full auto. We drilled those out and we pinned them so the officers could not put them on full auto.
Got it. Thank you. I noticed that some of the rounds that I've observed deployed ferret penetrator rounds, the powder rounds, CS 40 millimeter rounds weren't in the list. Will those all be in the full report?
Yes.
Okay.
Every munition that we have for both mobile fuel, every munition we have is in the report as it pertains to AB 481 munitions. So
Right.
To clarify, our pistol ammo, our shotgun ammo, though, that's not covered by AB 481. It would just be quite frankly tedious to even list that.
Would the penetrator rounds be included, given that they're not supposed to be fired at people?
I'm sorry,
The ferret rounds?
Yes.
The penetrator rounds, would those be included?
the gas rounds that we send, or
The non-gas rounds that are not supposed to be fired at people
Non-gas rounds that are not fired at people.
for breaching doors, things like that?
Oh, well, typically we use the 40 millimeter rounds for that.
Okay.
The ferret rounds that we use are gas rounds.
Got it. Thank you. Last question is, I noticed, I asked this actually last year too, the inclusion of stinger ball grenades. Oakland's been sued over that because of the indiscriminate nature of them. I think they're usually used in the correctional context. There's been some OJP research about the possibility of the rubber balls fragmenting further and causing injury. And so I'm just wondering, I think the last time I asked, they had not been used since the civil unrest in the summer of 2020. I'm wondering if they've been used since.
Yes, we used them early this year with a standoff at the hotel at Solano and 80. And that actually led to the armed subject who had already fired shots at people in the hotel, leading to an evacuation of the hotel to surrender.
Got it.
So yeah, every item that we have in, not just with us, but in law enforcement, has the potential for there to be a fragmentation or something else that could happen. But it's not designed for that.
Right.
But it could happen. I mean,
And I should actually clarify. I think I was speaking only in the crowd control context.
okay. I don't recall if we've used them for crowd control in more than 5 years.
They have not been used for crowd control in the last year.
Yeah, so we did use them though early this year at the standoff at the hotel. I don't know if you're aware of that incident or not, but we used it there and that led to him running down the hallway and we were able to take him into custody.
Thank you. That's it.
All right, thank you. I'm going to conclude on